Hey Ming, this is the Ecolution D3, the same unit that you have. Looking at the back of the unit, you'll see all the utilities, the things that you'll connect to get the machine operational. First of which is obviously the power cord, which you'll plug into the converter that you were provided with, but we will do that last. Firstly, you look at the back, you'll have the outlet line, which is where the chemistry will be pumped into the cartridge. You'll have your inlet line, which accepts the chemistry that is to be processed into this unit, and you'll have an emergency overflow line. Now, I do believe on your unit, the emergency overflow is actually located on the right side of the machine. You'll know because they are identified by labels. The other way to tell is the inlet line is always higher than the overflow line. Okay? So the first thing we want to do to get the unit set up is connected to the processor. If you have a print processor, or a photo processor, an X-ray processor, whatever you're connecting it to, you're going to have a line that goes from that processor into the inlet line on the back of the silver recovery unit. So all you do is you slide the hose over the elbow, and then you'll put your clip and fasten it tightly in place with the screwdriver. So you want to make sure that those hoses.
Line Cameron, line 3, please. It's Jim Beth. Mike, line 3.
Are securely in place so that they can't leak, they can't come loose. So that is accepting the chemistry from the unit into the silver recovery unit through the fitting marked intake. The next is connecting your overflow line. So the overflow can be set up in one of two ways. You can have the overflow go to the drain, realizing that anything that runs through the overflow will be bypassing the silver filter, and therefore the silver will be going down the drain. So as an alternative in this emergency situation is you can have the overflow line go into a silver or a jug where that chemistry can be contained until the power returns, and then you can put the chemistry back into the unit to be filtered and then put to drain. So that is certainly the better option, is to have that chemistry connected from the overflow into a jug. So again, we do need to fasten it with a clamp, and away you go. So that connects the processor to the silver recovery unit. Next, we got to connect the filter or the cartridge. Right. So you have the QS number 6, similar to what we see here, or in fact the same. It is very important that you follow the instructions about how to connect your silver recovery filter, which involves filling it with water. If you neglect that process, you can result in a plugged cartridge. So it is very important that you follow those instructions and make sure that you fill the silver recovery filter with water. So when you bring the filter over to your unit, you're probably going to have it in a closed loop like this so that the water doesn't spill out. You will want to disconnect the top hose, right, to open up that loop. And from the back of the Ecolution D3, the outlet line will connect to the bottom of the silver recovery cartridge. So that's going to leave the unit and flow into the bottom. It's very important that it goes into the bottom and not into the top, because the chemistry will enter into the bottom and slowly fill up the container, slowly taking that silver out of the chemistry and binding it to the filter inside. And then once it finally reaches the top, it will go out to the drain, desilvered, right? So if you were to connect it from the unit to the top of the filter, it's going to flow much too fast through the filter, not having the opportunity to be captured and then sent to the drain. So very crucial that it's sent from the back of the unit into the bottom of the silver filter. Alright? Again, always fasten the hoses with the clamps. We don't want any leaks, so you'll fasten that at the back of the silver recovery unit as well. Alright? So, once that's done, you'll take your remaining hose and run it into the drain and to the top of the silver filter. Okay? Again, even that drain, even though there's no pressure, you want to connect a fitting there to make sure that it's nice and tight. So that is the connection of the unit. It's running from the processor into your tank, activating the float switch, pumping it out of the top of the unit into the bottom of the filter and out to the drain. So we'll just have a quick peek at the inside of the unit as well, so you can kind of get a glance as to what's going on inside there. On the top of the unit you have your hour display, which tells us how many hours or how many minutes that the pump has ran for, and therefore letting us know how many minutes chemistry has flowed through the filter. We know that the QS number 6 filter, the one that you have, is good for 600 hours. So when that hour meter reads 600.0, it's time to replace that filter. When replacing the filter, you're going to need to reset that meter. And in order to do that, you just remove these 4 screws from the top of this box, and you'll see a reset button in there. The reason why we have that hidden is because we don't want customers to accidentally reset that hour meter, because that is your gauge to know exactly what point that unit needs to be filled, or replaced. So if somebody accidentally resets that, it really kind of messes with your organization. So now that's why we have that reset button hidden inside that. It's just 4 screws. It's easy to get at. Okay? Now the pump is inside here. You'll notice if you have a look inside the unit, you'll see this little alarm here. It's connected to a battery, right? And the reason why it's connected to a battery, it's self-powered, so that if you have a power outage, obviously your unit's not going to run. Chemistry can though still be building up. So we want to make sure that you're informed of any potential catastrophe. So we have a self-powered high-level alarm. So if the chemistry reaches alarming levels, it's going to activate that and a sensor will go off, where you can put the chemistry into a pail until you have the opportunity to get the power back going and the unit operational again. It's just an emergency response system. So the other thing you want to look at is, if you do not have a film processor or a photo processor that you want to connect directly into the unit, then you'll plug that inlet elbow, and you're going to batch the chemistry into the unit. Now the Ecolution D3 has a hinge fastens to the back, which allows us to tilt the lid back, and you can manually pour the chemistry into this unit, right? So it can be fed in one of 2 ways. Either manually or connected directly from the processor like we discussed before. Certainly this is a totally feasible option. If you look inside the unit, you will see at the bottom here, that is our float switch. So once you've poured chemistry into here, it's going to activate that float switch, which tells the pump to turn on, right? Pump turns on, it pulls the chemistry out through this hose and through the cartridge. These 2 prongs here are what activate your high-level alarm. So when that chemistry gets up, the chemistry acts as a conduit between those 2 probes and sets the alarm off. And so that's how that works. That's what those items are for. That covers the unit. If you have any other questions, give me a call.